I just,
Just fake it. Fake it for 20 minutes. You don't suck at it. You just don't want to put energy into it. Just fake some energy. Welcome back.
welcome back.
See, this is a good team.
Welcome back, guys. Another episode of Chart Talk with Jake and myself. We're going over market outlook, member ideas, some social media questions, book of the week, and our best ideas for the week. With that being said, Jake, you want to get into the market outlook?
Oh, wait. How is DR? How's coming home? You got any stories for me?
So the one funny thing was my passport expired. And again, you didn't come on the Exuma trip or Turks trip where Rob Learn famously lost his passport on both and had to go to the embassy, and it was this whole process. So
You don't want to lose that.
Yeah, me flying back today, I go to the little kiosk to get my ticket, and this big red thing starts flashing, and it says your passport's expired.
Oh, my God.
I look at it, and it expired literally yesterday.
Okay, so you left before and it wasn't
Yeah,
expired.
like March 7th, 2020, passport
Oh, my
expired.
God.
So the lady from whatever United walks up, and she puts her info in, and then I just forwards the numbers, and I just put 21. So it prints the boarding pass out. I'm like, oh, that was really easy to do that. We go to get to immigration where it really matters, scan the passport, same thing. The alarm goes off, whatever. So they take me in a little private room, and I'm like, fuck, man, I really don't want to get stuck here. So the guy's like, where's your boarding pass? I'm like, I'll sit outside. Let me go get it. And I go in my pockets. I have a wad of cash, man. I just drop it on the table. I'm like, I'll be back in a second. And this guy's super serious. He's got his arms folded, in the most horrible mood. And as soon as I did it, I saw the littlest crack in his a little smirk. So I walk out, I get my ticket, I come back, and he's like, "Is this for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if we get on the flight, whatever you need to happen." So whatever, I give him a couple dollars and sends me on my way. And on the flight, no problem. Back here.
And you're back
just
here
in
for
time.
Chart Talk. Wow, that's amazing.
What we got to do.
Blessed.
So that was one funny one.
Okay. All right, let's jump into market outlook.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, so last week we saw some panic in the markets. Very volatile week. It was Monday up 4%, Tuesday down 3%, Wednesday up 4%, Thursday down 3%, and then down another 2% Friday. Just absolute volatility. And we got that sharp move downward, and then that reactionary response, and then the H pattern kind of completed itself, or is kind of on its way to completing itself, as we're probably going to retest these lows. And right now we're seeing some crazy things out of the oil market. So the S&P futures are gapping, to below this trend line right here. We're undercutting those lows from 2 weeks ago. What happened in the oil markets? So they had a pretty normal OPEC meeting, OPEC is pretty much comprised of the Saudis and Russians, the two biggest oil producers in the world. And Vladimir Putin came out of nowhere and was just because of the coronavirus scares are ravaging energy demands. I'm not getting in this deal because only the U.S. American shale companies are going to benefit, such as, Exxon, Chevron. He's like, we're just going to absolutely flood the market right now with as much oil as possible and kind of kill everyone involved. Whereas half of Russia's economy is oil, so they're gonna get absolutely killed on the news too. Pretty much, throwing everyone in the middle of the ring and just lighting the circle on fire type thing, and whoever's gonna make it out alive, we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting to see how it plays out. But right now, that and the coronavirus are becoming the perfect storm for the market. So we're gonna see a lot more of this volatility for the time being. Benny, still over there?
No, I'm still here. I'm listening.
All right.
Going off that, I think you want to pull up the SPY. I don't know where the futures are for below 284.
Yeah, we're
but
pretty
that was,
much. Oh, it's below. What was that low? I know we're under. Yeah, 285.50 was that low. So that's kind of where we are. That area.
Yeah. So I think below that 284, we'll see some continued selling pressure. Then the next real line in the sand is at 272. In that area would be a technical bear market. Would be about down 22% off all-time highs. If we think back to the end of 2018, going into 2019, the market pulled back about the same, about 22%, and that was again one of the scariest times to get in. Also, one of the best if you were able to take advantage at that time. So those are some two key levels. Again, below 284, we'll probably see lower prices. Next line of the same would be 272. And then below that, there's really nothing stopping that retest of those 2019 lows, which if you look through a lot of the individual sectors, like even for like financials, VFH, for example, retesting that 2019 low is very realistic given where it is chart-wise for the SPY. The Dow Jones or the NASDAQ, it's a much bigger drop from where they're currently trading at. But we're seeing that theme is almost becoming somewhat realistic when 2 months ago that would have been, you'd been crazy if you would have thought that the market was going to hit, or retest 2019 lows.
Right.
So a lot of crazy stuff. And then again, the 10-year at new all-time lows, almost trading like a penny stock, was down 23% on Friday, lowest it's ever been. So if you do have any high interest debt, a mortgage that's above 4%, student loans 5 to 8% or higher, this is a great time, basically a slam dunk to refinance any debt you have and just get really cheap money. So that's definitely a big key thing. So again, for how scary the market is, there is always going to be somewhere that you can benefit. And if you have any debt, this is definitely a time to help, fix that.
I was looking at the futures coming into this, and it looks like shit. But the one positive I got out of this was knowing that you would spin this to be a positive somehow.
They're optimistic.
Yeah. Rolling 10-year period. What's next? What we got?
All right, so we'll jump into the member ideas. Tom Van Meter, he is looking at this CERN.
Yeah, I was looking at this. I just dropped the shakedown a little bit ago. This is one of the strongest names. I mean, the market is gapping down so bad right now. So, all these stocks are we're going to have to probably watch these stocks to bounce back. It's going to be one of those days where it's like find the relative strength type thing. But this CERN Friday, really bounced back, showed a lot of strength, and is kind of approaching this previous resistance level. So, I see the idea. It's just, a fact of these markets, which is probably not going to be available tomorrow. But I definitely was looking at this one as well. So good eye.
Yeah, it looks macro-wise looks amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next one was recent IPO, Shockwave, SWAV.
Yeah, I mean, this one's got to show us something. I mean, since earnings, all it's done is downtrend. We were really excited. So earnings day was this little base right here, a little 45. We were really excited to see how it reacted to it because recent IPO. We wanted to see that explosive reaction. But we haven't gotten that since they dropped the earnings this day. So we have to see that first. We have to see that explosive action. So, a high volume through a recent pivot. I'll definitely give it a look. But, got to see that high volume first.
All right. Next up, another recent IPO is by Gullum. PLMR. It's an insurance company through that 56 half 57 area.
This looks pretty good. It, you obviously, ideally, you want to see it go sideways a little more for a tighter entry type thing. But with this volatility in the market, if this one isn't connected to indexes, like the S&P or the IWM or the NASDAQ or anything, I'm not sure if it is or not, then that makes the name much more attractive. It won't just get dragged down by the market. But, I could see it. If it gets up there, then maybe. But we'll see how things open Monday.
All right. Next up was this NVCR, looking for a support buyback up through 76.
I loved this name a few weeks ago until it fell off the map on earnings. Again, similar thing. We got to see that upward price. You don't want to buy it on the way down. We want to see it, that high volume on the way up through these support levels. So, yeah, I'll watch this one. I like this name a lot. This has a really nice macro level overhead. But, again, with where we're opening up in the market, this one might be a short tomorrow if it just busts this 67 pivot on volume. So, I wouldn't count on too many support buys right now.
Okay. Another recent IPO is this Switch, SWCH, through 15 quarter.
Same thing, looking like a short.
All right, we'll skip that.
It could be it's just tough market times right now. We're gapping down 4% overnight, so it's probably going to open up like 1250.
And then the last one, again, macro-wise looks pretty good. This is RP through 66.
Oh, man. So it's so funny. I actually, on the newsletter I dropped 2 hours ago, I was like, if this RP, if this was a better macro environment, this RP would be one of my top focuses. Software name, beautiful macro chart. The only problem is just trading so wide every day right now. So, you can't really swing trade this name. You can't buy through these highs at 64 or 65 and give it to the 60 area because you're not going to get that $25 move. So, I mean, if it tightens up, I'll definitely give it a look. But we'll see how it transpires. I just lost my headphones. God, give me a second. All right, and we're back.
And then next we got Drew Brodman, this PGR. 82 and then 84, the two levels.
Yeah. Yeah, all these insurance names, huh?
Yeah, they're all setting up.
Oh, getting the corona. Yeah, I mean, all these names, so, I mean, it's given you 3 straight days where it opens up on a gap down, or 2 straight, I guess. But it opens up at a gap down and gives you a fat green day. So, honestly, walking into the gap down tomorrow, might maybe give this one a look off the open, see if it just explodes upward. I'll definitely give that a look. I see what he's looking at. Just tough to buy in these wider range stocks right now.
And then lastly, the CSII. Healthcare name. If you zoom out a bit, going back to 2015, over 40, that's the spot he's looking at.
Yeah, so on a nice little, kind of retest that level on the way back up, support buy. That definitely makes sense. Again, just going to be tough in this environment, but I definitely like the setup. We'll see what the market gives us.
Yeah. Next, we got Ricardo. He's looking at this DVA, another healthcare name, through this 85, which again, similar. Same thing.
Nice.
Through 20, back to 2015. It's been resistance. Got back up there. He's staying in the healthcare.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like this one the best so far. So yeah, I mean, throughout the 83 area, we'll see where it opens up. We'll give that one a look tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see. And then there's Merck. I've actually been buying this. I got in some. What was this on the end of February? It was up through 78. He's looking to get in through 83.
Yeah.
Again, especially with these names, like a name like Merck is going to be a lower beta, large cap name, where you definitely could pick some up there, but you got to realize, given a name like Merck, even to like the day's low, which is like 80, even a name like Merck $3 or $4 is kind of a lot, especially since it's almost up $8 off of that low, that real out 74. So it's this is kind of a name like the Verizons, like the AT&Ts that you can get into, but you can't expect those momentum breaks. If you can get a 10% move in Merck in a month, that's a very big move. It's not like this is going to move 5% in a single day. So just to be aware of something like that.
Yeah, pretty much the common theme in the newsletter I just posted was just like, we did a really great job of kind of changing our style in the Alpha Chat last week when it becomes that, pure day traders market where, look at the range on Merck from Friday, up and down $3, a wider range day for the stock. So, it's not really that swing trading environment we're so used to seeing these past couple of years. So it's kind of like if you're swing trading, step to the side a bit. It's more of a day trader's market right now. So charts are more tough. Everything's not really as chart based.
And then lastly, he has this Hershey, HSY, through that 162 half.
Hell yeah! In time, this is going to be a really nice level when it develops. We'll see how it as everything I've said, we'll see how it opens with this market. But in time, this is a really nice macro based developing. Don't think it'll be soon though.
And next we got Alex Smith. He's looking at this NGM through 19. Recent IPO.
Or NGM?
NGM.
Oh, N. Oh, I was going to say casino stocks. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't really know what this company does. It's a biopharma company. What's the volume like? 400 a K. Yeah, I mean, let's see what the weekly. A little inside week. Through that 19 quarter area, if you get some volume, give it a look. See that it has to be. You have to see the volume expanding. But in the recent scan I gave over the weekend, the only stocks I really would buy right now are things that are not as much tied to the indices like these pharmaceutical stocks. So this NGM could be a little diamond in the rough.
All right. Next up, we got Joseph Park. He's looking at this IDXX. He's looking at it through 251. So pretty much, through the high day of Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest. If I see this one open up near those 250 lows, that's another one that's looking like a short to me. Just opening up the bottom end of its range. Market's gonna have momentum to the downside. Support buys are probably gonna be shorts. With what's happening in the market right now.
Let's see. Next, this is ADI. Again, this is sport buyback. We can skip that. JPM, we can skip.
Yeah, JPM. Look at this trend. Wait, JPM. Look at this long-term trend it's testing. It's like wild.
Yeah.
Testing this entire look at. Oh my god, huge. But yeah, we're seeing some shit.
Seeing things we haven't seen in a while. Okay, so Joseph Park, we're going to skip a couple of yours. Next, we got David
You don't
Taylor.
have to say it. You can just go past it.
Okay. Just gotta let him know. David Taylor, LK.
Oh man, okay. I mean, it's an avoid because it has earnings this week. I was looking at this name this weekend, kind of thinking about their earnings. The company moved earnings a week later. Didn't tell anyone about it. Didn't tell anyone how the coronavirus was affecting business. Just kind of danced around the notion. So I think their earnings are going to get smoked. Just my thought, complete guess. But we'll see. They're Wednesday. I'm very much looking forward to this earnings report. I love this name, but I think it's going to get smoked because of the corona.
Yeah, there's usually never. It's hard to think of a time when a company moves their earnings for a good reason.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Next up, we got this SGen through 120.
I like this a lot. I actually highlighted this on the newsletter too. A name like this, it's like a biopharma, Seattle Genetics. They still within its macro range, still an upper level bull flag if you look at its macro chart. So this one's looking pretty good. I'm gonna keep an eye on this one and watch it develop. We'll see. It's still setting up though. Not much to do on it right this second.
Okay. So the rest of the member ideas, we have a couple social media questions. We can jump into those. First one we got, it's from @Zamar, and he asks, "What are some good books to read?"
You want to take this?
Yeah. So other than the fact that every single week we recap the book that we are reading or we're learning from it in these videos that you should be watching. I think stock related, probably the easiest is going to be How to Make Money in Stocks.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That's a classic. Very similar to how we trade. Very simple. That's the first one I'd recommend.
I always give people, when they ask that question, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator by Edwin Lefebvre.
That's a good one too. There's one other little joke, because we always get the DMs because we post the books we're reading. I'll get guys that will DM me constantly saying, "What book are you reading?" And then I'll send it like the title, and then a week later, a month later, they'll ask me the next book and the next book and the next book, and they'll never read any of them. So if you've ever bought the book, this is not for you, Shake. This is for someone who's been on our social media. If they've ever bought the book Stone Soup, which is a children's book, you're that person who I know who's never read any of the books, and you ended up buying a children's book because you asked me 10 times and never read any of them. So just a little fun fact.
Fun facts.
Yeah. Next question was from Club Oriega 0907. He goes, "Is this a good time to buy airline stocks?"
It depends on your time frame. I mean, these things are getting so killed. Because travel is going to be and it's tough because we don't know. I mean, obviously, if your time horizon's 5 years, we just don't know how far this panic with the coronavirus will go. I'd like to see things put in a little bottom first. But I mean, if you're dollar cost averaging for a really long term, I'm talking long term, then it's okay to dip your toe in, I think. But I don't think when you dollar cost average, you don't unload all your ammunition on the first buy. Buy like 20% of what you're going to buy in the first one. Wait, watch it for a week. If it drops lower, buy 20% more, so on and so forth. So if that's kind of your time frame, then I think it is. But it's got to be. You got to have a long time frame on those for them to be a buy.
Yeah, I mean, just given the fact that I just got back from airport, and Shay, I don't know how it was for you when you flew, but the airport when I was at was jam packed. My flight was fully booked. My flight back was fully booked. No one. There really wasn't the big. No, I saw one person wearing a mask. So I think a lot of it's more of just, and this kind of reminds me back of when we had like all the brokers going to zero commissions, and I was the first one when like even Schwab was getting smoked, and some of the guys wanted to buy it. I'm like, this is like the worst idea because these things are so smoked or so oversold. But really looking back, some of those were you got to have some balls to kind of buy them down there, but they were some deals. We're buying these names like, Delta or United or like, Sky W that are kind of the best in breed in this space. You can't really be perfect. You can't really just, buy 52 in United Airlines versus 48. Like you have to be willing to kind of buy this first, 35. So you can't really be that perfect down here. But I do think in 6 months or a year from now, if you do get some things down here, you'll probably have some good stock. But again, having the stomach to hold it for that long, especially when it does turn into your favor, is much easier said than done. Yeah. So sometimes it's easier just to let the dust settle a little bit and find a setup than trying to catch the bottom. Let's see. Next we got at Real Kusha. He's asking about Philip Morris PM.
What about it?
Just a ticker. He didn't give a setup.
So it's Philip Morris. I like this company. I don't love the company. They make cigarettes and shit, but but I love this base. This is in my long-term account. I bought some PM. So for the long term, I think if it breaks through this 90 or whatever, it should be good for the long term. But I've been buying this base as well, so I'm long.
Yeah, this is a lot.
There's long term. Yeah, my long.
This has actually been it's been a level since like 2012. It's like really been fighting there.
There you go.
None.
Well,
all right.
It's time. Vaping's back.
And then again, the last question is from IBM_Wall Street Paper. Again, he asked about airline AAL.
American. What about it? Same thing. I mean, we just talked about the airline, so same synopsis. If you have that really long-term horizon, really long-term time horizon, then it could be for you. But you're gonna have to deal with some pain. Yeah,
and this is just like out of all the airlines, this is the kind of one of the cheaper ones in the space. So if you're gonna find like the the most the beat up sector, which is going to be airlines right now or energy, you kind of want to find like the best stock in that sector versus trying to find the worst one. Which I'm not saying American Airlines is the worst, but relative from a price standpoint, $15 stock was $50 stock 2 years ago. I find it might take 2 or 3 years to get back to 50, where a name like Delta or not Delta, United Airlines, that was almost $100 stock a few months ago. It's much easier for that $50 stock to get back to 100 than the $15 stock to get back to 50. So that's why we tend to focus on just buying the leaders than buying the cheapest name in that sector. So with that, wraps up the social media questions. I think we could jump into good trade, bad trade.
So like I was touching on earlier, we had a pretty good week in the Alpha Chat. I'm trying to get my trades. What was the name? Oh, LVGO. LVGO was the big winner for me personally, and these were all kind of how the trades went. And then just get the chart up. So we shortened our time horizon heavily, and you can really only be day trading this market. So this LVGO opened up very strong. I bought into the flag, then as it pivoted and turned upwards and started turning out of the flag, I loaded the boat just against this tiny little intraday pivot and just selling the way up. And those are really the only type of moves I'm trying to capture in this market right now. I don't really have a bias, long or short. I'll go either right now. Everything has to be a really small time frame because you really don't know where the market's going to open up tomorrow. So I don't really like having that overnight risk right now. So I'm going to avoid that. So I'm just going to keep doing these type trades. We had a couple more, but it seemed like the Alpha Chat did super, super well last week compared to previous times when we've gone through this stuff and people try to still swing trade with it, where the market's just not permitting that with the volatility we're experiencing. So great job by the chat. What do you got?
I have two main ones. One was American Express. When I bought up through 112, again it's lower to like 104 right now. This is kind of reverting back to what we talked about earlier, where you're not really trying to jump in with 2 feet. You're willing to buy a little bit if it comes down further. So this is again I'm down in this position currently. So this is kind of the bad trade. The good one was Mitch MTCH Match Group. They own Tinder. I bought up. This is a big picture idea up through 66. It's basically right there. It's at like 65, 50. It's down a couple cents. So this really isn't a name that hasn't been too banged up recently off the market stuff. And this will be one I'll still add up through 68 versus the 62 area support. So it really didn't do much again. I was away for the better part of the week. And there was one recent example that, again, when we talk about buyouts, if you want to pull up E-Trade, ETFC, we get a lot of these questions about what to do with buyouts. And this is like a really good example. because once stocks do get bought out, the chart is, you don't see it anymore. So if you're not in a name that gets bought out, you typically don't see it too often. So we know E-Trade, a couple weeks ago had some news that it was going to get potentially bought out in the end of this year by an investment bank, and it gapped up on that news. It was trading at $45 before the news came out, and then when the news came out that it was going to get bought out, gapped up huge, up to 57. And we can see how quickly that this entire move got reversed and then some. And that kind of goes to show you when a lot of times we'll hear newer traders when a stock is getting bought out, they don't know what to do or they think it's going to trade higher. And what ends up happening in most cases is the stock just doesn't move until it gets bought out, or it'll trade in a very small range. This is a really good example of it has news of it getting bought out and completely reverses the move and then some. So just something to remember when a stock is getting bought out, usually the best course of action is just to take profits on that day, then being greedy and expecting it to continue higher. So this is just a really good example. Since we were talking about the airlines and kind of what happened with a lot of the brokers when they had some really bad news in the end of 2019. So I just thought it was a relevant example that might help someone.
All right, good stuff.
All right, I think with that we can jump into book of the week.
All right, Bennett, what you got? Book of the week.
So this will be the first book that I will ever read twice or back to back.
Okay.
Book's Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones. Super short, 100 pages. For anyone who's in sales or talks to people, I guess that's really for anyone on this planet. There's a ton of just really
You're
useful
breathing
phrases.
right now.
What's that?
If you're breathing right now.
Yeah, I feel like if you're basically a human, this will benefit you. But a lot of it's just like little, like just subtle, like, one of them's real quick is like, you want someone to do something that you want. Like, Shake, I bet you're a bit like me. I like to, save weekly my retirement account, blah, 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 whatever. So it's like a good opening. He gives you a lot of these different openings and different like word associations that you can use to kind of help nudge people into a path that you want to get them to go versus having like argumentative conversations.
Right.
Super good. Anything for people in sales, highly recommend.
Yeah.
Really
Or if you're breathing.
Or if you're breathing or you have conversations with people, definitely worth the 100 pages.
All right. I'm still reading that Bad Blood from last week, so I'm gonna give him a classic. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Old school FBI negotiator, just gives you these amazing tactics for negotiating and never split the difference, and he breaks it down so simply. It's an unbelievable book. You read that one, right?
Yeah. The one key thing was always when someone asks you like a ridiculous request, like someone asks you for money, your reply back is like, how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Shifts it back to them, and then most people who ask for money are too stupid to even fathom the idea of getting the money, so they get stuck, and it versus you saying like, no, I'm not going to give you it, and then they curse you off and never talk to you again. And that was the one main thing I remember from that book. That was very useful.
There's a lot more stuff in that too.
Yeah.
All right. Sunday night, wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Till next week. Good luck. Happy trading.
Till next week.